Welcome to Executive Insights. My guest today is Frances Newbigin, our board advisor and a great friend. Frances and I go way back. She's one of the best leaders I've had the privilege of working with. In this episode, Frances shared her leadership philosophy. We discussed what separates good leaders from bad, key to building a high-performance team, how to drive change in a difficult environment, and much more. Hi, Frances. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks so much, Nasheen. It's great to be here.
I've been so looking forward to this conversation. You and I started 15 years ago as colleagues, and we have become great friends. Since 2011, you've been an advisor to the IT Media Group. I just love how our relationship has continued to evolve and flourish over the years. What I admire most about you, among many things, is your integrity and class as a person and as a leader. The very quality that has always inspired a following wherever you go. I'm so excited today to have a conversation about leadership with the very person who embodies the definition. So my first question to you is, what is your leadership philosophy and why?
So thank you very much, Nasheen, for those kind words. And as you know, I enjoyed working with you, but I truly treasure our friendship. So first of all, for me, leadership was an absolute privilege. I loved being a leader. I loved my teams. I think the opportunity to help people grow and flourish and thrive and succeed is an absolute privilege. It obviously supports your own success, but it has such inherent meaning and value in and of itself. So it's an absolute privilege. In terms of my philosophy, the most fundamental principle, I think, of leadership is to lead by example. And quite simply, whatever characteristic it is that you're seeking, whether that's, hard work, integrity, professionalism, customer care, embody it. It's very simple, but it's profound and it's fundamental. So lead by example. The second thing I think would be kind of what I consider the core values of leadership, which really are integrity, as you mentioned, respect for the individual, and fairness. They're important in life. It's how we treat people, but as a leader, it's absolutely fundamental because your team has to trust you. And I think the third one is really to create an environment that fosters fun and humor. A high performance team is by definition, it's intense, it's hard work, it's stressful. And an environment that's fun and where people are enjoying themselves, people will want to be part of that. And it helps take the pressure off of a high performance team. So having fun is really important as well. So.
Absolutely. And speaking of fun, boy, didn't we have a lot of fun.
Oh, we did. We had some fantastic times. Absolutely.
Yeah, in an earlier conversation you and I had, you mentioned that in your career, you had experienced leadership in its various forms that may have influenced your career and your beliefs. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Absolutely. So like all of us, I have experienced some really, truly great and inspirational leaders, those that lead by knowledge, passion, drive, capability, strategy, vision. I really have had some great leaders that did inspire me and who I modeled myself on, quite frankly. In terms of some of those that were less than stellar, factors would have been ego, often. I think also putting self-interest ahead of the common good or the greater goal is never a good thing. And finally, there can be a bullying type of style where people lead by fear instead of inspiration. I think all of those things are not desirable, certainly in a leader. In terms of, I can think of many examples of people who really did inspire me. One of the ones that comes immediately to mind would be Scott McNeely. So as you know, as we work together there, founder and CEO of Sun Microsystems. So he was an inspirational leader. First of all, when he did a leadership meeting, he would he would always have his written notes on the back of an envelope, like the top 10 list, a la Johnny Carson. And he was hilarious. He could have been a stand-up comedian. But his material, he was very, very funny. His material was always spot on. And I don't think I ever saw him address a leadership meeting where he didn't talk about the value of personal integrity. And it really meant something to him. And beyond that, if you think about Sun Microsystems and Scott McNeely, it wasn't about making money. It wasn't all profit motive. It was really about values much bigger than that. It wasn't about building the fastest computer. It was about open standards. It was about innovation. It was about advancing technology for the greater good. So you felt that you were part of something that was important, that mattered. And he created a culture that was really inspirational, entrepreneurial, passionate. It was a great place to work for those 11 years.
Great leaders inspire action and they stand for a higher purpose. So, Frances, you're known for building high performing teams wherever you went. What's your secret? And what are the most important qualities you're looking for in hiring?
Great teams are really comprised of great people. So beyond setting the pace and setting the culture, leading by example, hiring is really, really critical. And I think it's fundamental that you hire to character versus type. In other words, you're looking for intelligence, you're looking for drive, you're looking for integrity. And it speaks to diversity. I think as a woman who is in the field of high tech, where there weren't as many of us, I often looked around and it was obvious that a company had hired to a type. I worked among several sales teams that looked more like football teams than anything else. The hiring was so homogeneous. And I just don't believe, I don't believe in that. I believe you hire to character, not type. I believe that diversity is really important, that a team that's comprised of different perspectives, backgrounds, culture, influence, experience, that will be a much healthier, stronger, and vibrant team. So hire the best people and hire to character and not type.
Very well said. I believe that if all leaders are hiring for character and capability, diversity will take care of itself.
Absolutely. Absolutely true.
Unfortunately, not all workplaces are the best place to work. And in fact, many aren't, and some are frankly toxic. So, how do you go about building a team, boosting morale, and driving change in a difficult situation?
Sadly, it's very true. And in my career, I had the opportunity to take on more than one team that was challenged, demoralized by whatever the set of circumstances were. The one that I recall perhaps the most was a company that had experienced significant management churn. Every 6 months there would be a change in leadership and all the fallout that would go with that. And it had created a culture that was actively resistant to change. So you're coming in as a new leader and trying to foster a new culture, a new attitude. And the prevailing attitude was, wait 6 months, it'll all change again. So we don't need to change. It was really an unhealthy environment. And it was also paralyzed by fear because there had been so much downsizing and culling that people were no longer emboldened to act. And it was a negative culture. I think in that instance, the most important things were, first of all, to wade in, identify and tackle the biggest problems yourself, so that they understand how committed you were to changing the environment, the culture, the success. I think secondly, to listen to those that are there, to truly sit down and take advantage of the expertise and the experience of those that had been through the wars, because they all have ideas, they have input, they want to feel part of the solution. So I think that was critical as well. And the last one, is once again repeating myself, but lead by example. Whatever it is that you want, the behavior that you want to elicit, you model it. Hard work, dedication, inspiration. You'd be the first one there and, the last one in the quarter, and lead by example.
Yeah, I completely agree. Wade in, listen attentively, and lead by example. Great practical advice. You are a wonderful role model and a mentor for women. Could you offer some advice for women at all stages of their careers, especially now with the pandemic as a backdrop?
I think the advice that I have to give is very simple, but it's profound. And perhaps in this environment of a pandemic, where it's not as easy to be visible, not as easy to stand out, it's even more valid. So the advice from my experience is really to go for it. In the sense that if you see an opportunity to take on a new challenge, to lead a project, to volunteer for a role, to take on a leadership role, and you feel ready for it, put your hand up, step forward, take the challenge. I think that sadly in society, we often socialize men to have the confidence, to have the bravado, to put themselves forward, where we socialize somehow women to be more self-effacing, to be more modest about our capability and our achievements. And quite frankly, that will not serve you in the business world. You need to have the confidence and the conviction in your own capability to put yourself forward, put your hand up. As a woman, you're less likely to be offered the opportunity, so you need to ask for it. And simple advice, but very important for women.
Thank you so much, Francis, for all your insights and sage advice. I've really enjoyed this conversation today.
Thank you so much, Nasheen. I did as well. I've enjoyed myself very much.
This is another episode of Executive Insights by the IT Media Group. Thank you for tuning in.